Alright, this video is going to be a bit more freeform. This video is mainly going to be me talking about Igor in Persona 5 and particularly the events towards the end of the game with him and the Holy Grail. And it's going to be me talking about what exactly does all of this mean, what are the implications, what are the assumptions that can be made from these scenes. And as we look at this scene, we'll be able to look back at other scenes in the game and think and be able to make implications and assumptions from that based on what really should have been or what could have been happening if Igor was really himself. So we're going to go ahead and sort of start right here. Now one big point I'm going to be talking about in this is Philemon, and I'm sure as all of us know, Philemon, for all intensive purposes, is no longer a character. You do have some sort of throwbacks to him with the butterflies and stuff, but more or less, as of Persona 3, 4, and 5, like, Philemon is not a character, but we're going to be talking about him as if he was still a character and he was still pulling strings behind Igor and the Velvet Room and all that stuff. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get into it right here and talk about like how crazy this whole thing is. So what happens here is that the Holy Grail gets enough power from the people in Shibuya that he is able to go inside the Velvet Room and take over the quote-unquote head of the Velvet Room, Igor. And that in itself is absolutely ridiculous, considering in the past games none of the other godly figures even know anything about the Velvet Room? Question mark. They don't even know that it exists. And this guy, the Holy Grail, comes in. He's like, "What's good?" And he goes like, "Oh no!" And he just gets bodied and taken over. And Lavenza over there, she's not doing anything. Either she's not doing anything or she's not strong enough to stop it. Clearly she's not strong enough to stop it. Igor himself wasn't strong enough to stop it. And then assumably the Holy Grail is using Igor's power to split Lavenza in half, because it would be kind of crazy to imagine that the Holy Grail itself actually split Lavenza in half, because it's safe to assume that with the realization of what Morgana is, the fact that Igor created Morgana with like no power left, with like very little power, it's safe to assume that he created all of the Velvet Room attendees with his full power. Elizabeth, Theodora, Margaret, and up. So it would be kind of hard to imagine that the Holy Grail itself could have the kind of power to split Lavenza in half into two different Velvet Room attendees. I think it's safe to assume that the Holy Grail used Igor's power instead to do that. So that's pretty crazy in itself. Now let's talk about Philemon. What is Philemon doing here? Alright, so like I said earlier, it's pretty safe to assume that Philemon isn't even a character anymore, because if this was Persona 1 or Persona 2, Philemon would clearly be doing something about this. But we're going to go under the assumption that Philemon is like canonically a character somewhere in the universe, and obviously he knows what's going on with Igor. He knows that Igor is like taking over, and he knows that the Velvet Room is pretty much fucked at this point. So the question is, like, is that really the case? Is Philemon really just letting all this shit happen? Is he just letting it be another test for the main character? Or has he like come to a decision with himself that he's never going to intervene with human affairs ever again? That's why he created Igor, to do all that stuff for him. Even though he's on the side of humanity. Well, I don't know. Would you really say Philemon is on the side of humanity? He's more of like for humanity, but like, I don't know, for humanity, but not exactly willing to help them. He's not like all these evil, like all the god characters in the game where they just come to the conclusion prematurely that humanity can't do anything. He's just sort of like, because he chooses a vessel, he chooses a character, like he chooses a main character, right? Or a group of main characters, and until they die or until they fail or something like that, he's never going to like lose hope in humanity. And that has never happened in the game, right? That's never happened in the Persona game where the main characters just fail completely. So we could assume then that that's when Philemon will just give up, but that hasn't happened yet, so he hasn't. So it's like either the case of him just letting this happen because he doesn't want to intervene, or because he wants it to be an extra challenge for the main character, or, and this is very, very unlikely, he actually doesn't know what's going on with Igor, which is pretty ridiculous to imagine. Because why wouldn't he know? He created Igor. How would he not know that Igor is like not himself right now, or things aren't going well with the Velvet Room? And even, yeah, exactly, even more than Igor himself, like the whole Velvet Room in general. If he certainly should be able to sense that something's going on in the Velvet Room, if not with Igor, right? So I think that's a very crazy idea. and you see, like, when Igor comes back to normal, he knows that he got taken over. Like he didn't just like come in and like instantly get bobbed and not remember anything. He remembers that he was getting taken over. The whole Velvet Room was getting taken over, and it is kind of not really frustrating, because like I said earlier, for all intents and purposes, as far as Atlas goes, Philemon isn't even a character anymore. But the lack of what Igor says about how Igor reacts to this situation is a bit frustrating. But you can also assume that it's like that because, you know, he knew this was going to happen. And he just let it happen. I don't know. It's just so much you can infer and assume and call out with how these events transpire with Igor. And it's like, and here's another thing. I mean, obviously, the Velvet Room, Persona Fusion, all that, it's a huge gameplay mechanic for Persona. They can't just really do away with it or anything. But it does bring up the question, if the Holy Grail like comes in here and he sees that this place is actively trying to help the main character, and as we learn from Lavenza, like, the Holy Grail sort of rigged this whole thing so that the main character would lose, right? So the Holy Grail has always had malicious intent, even from the beginning of the game. Even when he's talking about, oh, you can change the world, you can change the masses, you can do all this stuff. He really didn't mean it. But he was just trying to, I don't know, egg him on for whatever reason. So clearly he's malicious. The question here is, when he takes over Igor, why doesn't he just completely destroy all of this stuff? You know, like, why is the Holy Grail just letting all this go transpire? Like, you see at the end, he's sort of like fuck this, and he tries to get Caroline and Justice to kill the main character. But like, why didn't he just do that earlier? Why to a greater extent, just like he could have just destroyed Lavenza, destroyed Caroline and Justice. Not only are they weaker than Lavenza, since they're split, he also took over Igor. Let's go back to that. Igor, as far as we should understand, is stronger than any Velvet Room attendee. Probably stronger than all of them combined, since he created them. And he has taken him over. And the Holy Grail obviously needs to have a ridiculous amount of power to do that in the first place. And he has Igor's power. So it's like, why doesn't he just destroy all of this? Make it so that the main character can't do anything. Now, you do see a little bit toward when in the scenes where the Holy Grail like finally reveals himself. He starts floating and shit. Igor starts floating and shit and starts talking with the voice modifier that they use. Clearly showing that he's the Holy Grail. You see that he does try to sort of toy with the main character a bit longer. And Lavenza even calls him out on that. So you could say that's why he doesn't do any of this, because he wants to like toy with the main character. He wants to see what sort of fun he can have with him as sort of entertainment, and that's probably what it really is, honestly. Like, that's the most logical thing. But I don't know, it's just kind of crazy, especially since he sees that he's actually a threat near the end. He wants him killed by Caroline Injustice. It's just really interesting. And it's kind of funny when you think about it, because if this stuff didn't happen with Igor, Morgana wouldn't even be a character. Yeah, it's pretty safe to say Morgana wouldn't even be a character, because obviously Igor would have his full power and he wouldn't even need to create Morgana. So that's kind of an interesting way of looking at it. But really, poor Igor, man. Like, what did Igor do? Like, he's just here doing his shit. He's like, oh man, just another day at the office. I gotta create me an assistant. Who am I gonna choose next this time? Oh, I wanna make a lolly, cute little girl. Maybe a nice change of pace, right? From Elizabeth and Margaret, Theodore. All of these are annoying. Elizabeth was annoying. Margaret was annoying. See that shit she did in the animation, where she like said he had a big nose and shit. Like, obviously, if I was Igor, I'd be fed up with it. Like, just make a little girl. Maybe she won't say shit to me. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's just so cool. It's just really a lot to think about. I really wish Atlas would do something with Philemon, but the way they are with Persona 1 and 2, they're kind of, they're being a little, they've always been a little distant from it, outside of a few references, a few tunes every now and then. Chances of them really actually doing some of Persona 1 and 2 isn't very likely, and that's fine. They have their reasons for it. I'm not exactly sure the reasons for it, but that's just how it be. It do be like that sometimes. But if they were to bring Philemon back, it would be the coolest shit ever, dude. It would be so cool. I would nerd out so hard, man. Like what if they had a scene? All right, so this is my fanfic right here. So they'll have a scene. If they were to do it in the engine, I would ask that they do it in like an engine using the Catherine style graphics, like this. And like they have this scene with like the main character, kind of like how they did with Arsene and the main character in the trailer scenes in the beginning of this game when he's on the train. You have the main character just there, and you have all this hustle and bustle going around, and over time he starts to, you hear a woman singing like opera, like the Velvet Room theme, and then you have this guy like over to the left painting. You have the woman singing opera to the right, and the dude with the painting to the left. Over time, as time goes on, the singing gets more pronounced, and like, let's say the man painting, the paint brushes that he's starting to make on the canvas is starting to get louder, and over time, there's sort of like the hustle and bustle goes down, and the sounds of these two become more pronounced, and over time, like, people start disappearing, and the woman singing and the man painting sort of starts to stay. They become more pronounced as time goes on, and like then everything stops, and it's just the woman singing, and it's just the man painting, and the main character is like, wait, what's going on? And then he like hears some footsteps, right? And then he looks like towards the woman singing opera and the man painting. and he's not looking forward anymore, obviously, because he's looking at them. But then when he looks forward again, he sees the man walking towards him, and it's just fucking Philemon with his arms behind his back. Right. And it's the coolest shit. It's the coolest, most badass shit ever, because we know who this guy is. We know who this guy is. It's this cool ass guy. And then he's like, and he like opens the door to the velvet room, right? Somehow, I don't know how, but he's open to the door to the velvet room. And in there, you see Igor just fucking sitting down, and he's like, "Welcome to the velvet room." You know, that'd just be the sickest shit ever, man. It'd be the sickest shit ever. I don't know. I would totally nerd out. It'd be, I don't know, man. It'd be crazy. It'd be so cool. You know, the chances of that happening are next to none. But it's just fun sort of thinking about it. But yeah, that's pretty much all that I had to say. Like I said, this video is really freeform. You know, I didn't really sort of think anything out when I was before I made this video. So a lot of it might sound like gibberish. A lot of it might sound like me stuttering. Probably not the most professional video I've made, but yeah, it's just a whole bunch of thoughts, and ideas I just had to get off my chest and into some sort of recording. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys put down your thoughts and what you have to gander from all of this. I would love to see them. I would love to discuss it with you. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and have a great day.